Hey, it's Meg. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's junk journal with me, I'm going to be doing day 15 of the Junk Journal July challenge. The prompt for today is homemade, and when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for this prompt, I remembered the presentation that we had at Journal Fest a couple of weeks ago that I went to, and Cheryl from Jenny Lane Creations demonstrated making these kind of like DIY washi tape strips using gummed paper. Now, I did take away a few of the strips from the tables so that I could do this technique back at home because we didn't have jelly plates on the table, and I knew it was something that I wanted to try out, so I figured it would be the perfect opportunity for the prompt of homemade because it's the idea of making your own washi tape almost. And I really love the texture of the jelly plate printing onto the tape, so I just ended up doing a plain pink background, which then allowed me to have that as a base to add on the different texture and details and mark making. So I'm not doing any collaging within this strip. I know I've previously done the faux washi strips, similar to how Rachel from Roxy Creations does them with all the different collage and stamping. So I figured it would be a fun chance to try something a little bit different, a little bit more mixed media, and be able to create these DIY washi strips that not only can I use within today's journal prompt page, but I can also have them for other things that I want to work on as well, because I think they'll be great additions for backgrounds, for ephemera, just for adding a little something to the page. You know, when you want something that is already prepared and ready to go. So it was fun to work on this as a background because it's pretty low pressure, because you don't have to worry about making a masterpiece, not only because it's not within the journal page itself, but also when it gets cut up, I find that I tend to work a lot more like loosely and freely because I'm not worried about what the whole thing looks like. Because if I do the whole thing and then I only like one section, like that doesn't matter, I'll just cut out that one section that I like. So I ended up cutting this big chunk here into four because it was quite a wide tape, and I knew that I wanted it to be a little bit thinner. So being able to work across the whole thing, knowing that I would then cut it up, meant that I had the flexibility to do different mark making. So I did just like paint splotches, I did some pencil marks, and then I came in here and added some leaf patterns. I love adding these types of leaf patterns to different things that I create. I've done them in inks before, I do them in pencils all the time. I just find them super easy to do and they look really great coming from like different angles of whatever I'm working on. So it's just a really fun and easy way to add some detail and some interest to whatever I'm working on. So it was really fun to build up the different layers here of the mixed media, and also like leaning into using more paints and that mixed media vibe, which I know I always say that I want to get into doing more of, but it is really about trying to find a way that works for me in terms of integrating it, because sometimes I feel like collage is my safe space and like my home when it comes to journaling. So when I venture too far out, it almost feels like I know that it's out of my comfort zone, but it also doesn't feel like me. So it's kind of trying to find a way to have that balance where I don't do something and think, oh, like I have no idea why I've done that. Like it doesn't, like there's nothing that I like about it. I at least want there to be something. So maybe it's just a process of like slowly adding things like this. So, you know, making one of these strips where I haven't used any collage materials is probably a big step for me. I could feel myself wanting to grab like some tissue paper or something, but I thought, no, let's just focus on doing the paint and the pencils and things here, and leaving the collage to the journal page. And it felt good to try some different things. And this like scribbling here that I was doing with the white pen, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have the leaf pattern here highlighted? And no, it wouldn't. I don't like the way that turned out at all. But once it was cut up into the strips, I didn't mind it as much. It wasn't as offensive on the eyes once it was in like small doses, but as I was doing it, I just thought, like, what am I doing? Like, this doesn't look good at all. But I think that's one of the fun things about obviously making art in general, but also a challenge like this, is that you can have these like mini little experiments and trying different things, and not everything has to work because there's going to be, another prompt that we're going to work on. So this was something that I actually had never done before. I couldn't find my stamp pad that I wanted to use, and I saw my distress ink pads out the corner of my eye, and I thought, I wonder if they work as stamps. Like, I don't touch these things at all. Like, I must have used these a handful of times, and I thought, I wonder if they work as a stamp. And the purple tone worked really nicely on the pink, and I was actually really pleased with how that turned out. And it was surprisingly crisp, the stamp that I managed to get. And so even though it was quite a busy stamp, I think because of the colour that it blended in a lot, and it really filled in a lot of the gaps and added some interesting like dimension to the piece, because it felt like it was a lot more of a background piece compared to the other mark making that I had added on to the strip. So here I am just measuring out this piece into 4 so that I could create 4 different strips. So I ended up only using 1 on this page, and then I'll use the other 3 at some point, maybe within this journal, or I might use it in other things that I'm doing as well. But this is definitely something that I can see myself wanting to have a bit of a like mass making session of, and building up a bit of a stash and a collection of these ready to use within the different things that I'm creating. So I just really love the colour scheme that I've got going on for this. When it came to adding this to the page, this was quite interesting, because what I kind of did was like a really skinny journal page, basically. So I was thinking about how I wanted to work with the fact that obviously in the previous journal page, I'd kind of overrun and spilled over into the next page. And I thought, how can I work with this in a way that will distinctly sort of call out that this is a separate thing? And I thought, I wonder if I could just do like a strip down the middle and have that be the focal point. So I ended up gluing it down the center of the fold there, adding a little bit of coffee either side of the strip, just to blend it in a little bit so it didn't feel like it was completely just like on its own in the center there. And then I added a word sticker here and also a few bits of collage, because I couldn't resist. By the time it got to this point in the page, I figured it would give a nice base for the words to pop from the page, and just centered that sort of in the middle here so that it really all concentrates in the middle of this little layout. So yeah, I guess I'm calling this like a little skinny washi tape-esque page. It's something that I don't think I've ever done before with a layout, to work on just the center of the page. But again, it's one of the little quirks and joys of working within a no-sew journal. So maybe that's something you might like to try out within your own journals, is to just use sections of your pages when you're working on them. But yeah, that's everything that I've done for the prompt of homemade. I hope you enjoyed journaling along with me, and let me know what you've done for this prompt.